600 horsepower is a strange figure to see, never mind on a stock 720S, but a tuned one.
We putting 30 flavors on our watches. We eating dinner at Chris Hibachi. I love her cause she slurping me so sloppy. I kill a nigga, me is one thing about me.
As a courtesy to the customer, we always put tuned Mclarens onto our dyno to see how they are running and give the best possible advice to the client. This one is running extremely bad, not only because it's making 600 horsepower, but it's running extremely lean. What does that mean? Now, running extremely lean means that it's not getting enough fuel in the engine. So as we're able to data log it on the other tune, we're able to see that it's running at 0.9, 0.92 lambda. That's why it sounds like it's misfiring when we're doing the pull, and that's why it's making such little power, because the combustion is so far away from optimal. If you look here, you can see bank 1 and bank 2 lambda targets are way off. We usually run these at 0.79 lambda, and these are over 0.9, over 0.85 on bank 2. It's just ridiculous. It's really, really high, and it's not something that we usually see or we like to see. You've got two scenarios. Sometimes, you know, you can tune a car, make less power, but it can still be safe, right? So if it was 600 horsepower, but the air to fuel targets were on point, the boost control was not spiking anywhere, if the fuel trims were correct and the engine wasn't knocking, we'd tell the client, hey, look, it doesn't make 800 horsepower, but the tune is safe, right? There's nothing wrong with the tune. But not only is this not making the power, it's also running extremely dangerous. Because the combustion quality is so far off, it's just running extremely bad, and it's making 600 horsepower. So we're going to pull the ECU out of this one, put our M-Tuner suite on it, and retune it for the client so it's running optimally. Right, we have Anthony's car wrapped up now. It made 755 wheel. This doesn't have inlets or air filters. He's going to add them on after his summer Europe trip. So this car is going to Europe tomorrow. It's just got downpipes on there. The fuel pressure is crashing a little bit, so we're going to change the fuel pump controller. As we're heading deeper into summer, it's 755 wheel. If we cooled it down, done a run first thing in the morning, it'd probably be 780 wheel. But we're not going to see over 800 wheel for the rest of the summer until things cool down. These Mclarens have load tables on them, so as they warm up, they automatically reduce power to protect the engine. And we keep things really strict with the stock engine. Whereas when it's a built engine, we relax the load tables a little bit. Of course, we sent the ECU off for the M-Tuner suite to be put onto it. The M-Tuner suite, as I've mentioned again and again, it allows us to data log at 100 Hertz, so it allows us to see exactly what is going on in the ECU. When we had it on the dyno last, on the unknown tune, we were seeing 0.95 lambda. Without the M-Tuner suite on the ECU, we're very limited to the data that we can see on the ECU. You know, we can't monitor 100 parameters at 100 Hertz. We can monitor, say, 15 to 20 parameters at 10 Hertz, which is not very useful, you know. You can only pull off so much data. Right off the bat, the engine safety's kicked in for the misfire monitors. So what was actually going on the other tune, but it wasn't clear enough to be able to diagnose. We were seeing 0.95 lambda. What was actually going on was it was misfiring. It was misfiring all the way through the RPM range, and no engine safeties were kicking in to save the engine. When we've put the M-Tuner suite on, ran a baseline on 98 octane, you can see on the graph at 2500 RPM or so, the throttle closes to 25% as it picks up a misfire. The engine roughness monitor picks up inconsistencies in combustion. So your spark event that fires and sends the piston down, the piston, when it goes down, it also turns the crankshaft, right? So if there's a misfire and the piston does not go down as expected during that spark event, it's picked up as an inconsistency in combustion. So you see the engine roughness spiking, right? And that, it can be engine mounts. It can be, if it's a false misfire, it's engine mounts. If it's, it can also be the flywheel. But in this case, because we were seeing really high lambda, when there's a misfire, of course, you've got an abundance of oxygen inside the combustion chamber. It gets picked up as the cylinder running lean. So we know this car is misfiring. We will now replace the plugs and coils. When we replace the ignition coils on these cars, I want to say we use GTR coils. So this is a GTR coil, you know. This is what the upgrade is for the McLaren platform. But what you'll find is that when you buy one of these and you go to install them, you'll notice that the stock is too short. So this is a GTR ignition coil, and this is an original McLaren ignition coil, right? You can see the original McLaren ignition coil is a good 1.5 inches longer. The reason for that being is on the GTRs, the spark plug sits a lot closer to the manifold cover, whereas on the McLarens, the spark plug is a lot deeper inside the cylinder head. So you can see, that's the difference there, right? So a GTR coil, believe it or not, does not actually fit a McLaren. So there's a couple of solutions for this. The obvious thing to do would be to swap the stocks over, right? So if you take the GTR ignition coil apart, this rubber boot just rips apart. Inside you have this. This is the business end of the coil pack. The connector is plug and play, and this basically connects to the spark plug, right? So we have that, and inside the coil boot we have a spring, and we have a little resistor, right? This little resistor cleans the signal before it goes to the spark plug, or vice versa. It cleans the signal that the coil pack is looking for to see how the combustion event went. What a lot of the other McLaren guys do is they literally rip the stock off the stock ignition coil on a 720S or a stock, you know, any McLaren. They stick the little resistor into the McLaren coil and they put it together like that. I don't really like that. The reason being, the weakest link on the stock 720S coil is the boot itself. The stock 720S coils are not as bad as people make them out to be. The main weak point is the connection between the coil and the spark plug, right? So again, in the McLaren coil, you also have a spring inside that connects to the stock boot. Funny fact, this ignition coil is from a Nissan Sentra. So the Nissan Sentra uses the same ignition coils as your 700 horsepower McLaren. This coil is not too bad. It's mostly, when these fail, it's the connection between the coil and the spark plug. The spring, over time, it corrodes. And because it corrodes, it weakens the connection between the plug and the coil. What do we do? Obviously, I don't like swapping. I don't like using the stock coil at all because it's a weak link. We had custom 3D printed ignition stocks made up. So these are our coils. It's a GTR head with a completely custom stock. It's plastic and it's completely weatherproof. So we do retain some of the GTR ignition coil components. Another bad thing about the stock ignition coils is for water ingress. Water gets into there, which also corrodes the electricals. But our coils, there's a little heatsink here. There is a weatherproof boot over here. And it's a 3D printed plastic stock. So this is our custom coil. GTR head, custom stock. And this is a 720S coil. So you can see they're now the same length, right? These are drop-in replacement for the 720S. We love these. Like, ever since we started using these, we've not had any misfire issues. So they've been a really, really big key player to our success here at Infinit Performance. So yeah, we're gonna pull the stock ignition coils and plugs out, drop our ignition coils and spark plugs in, and we'll run it again, see if it solved the issue. I'm pretty confident it will though.
We eating dinner at Chris Hibachi. I love her cause she slurping me so sloppy. I kill a nigga, millions, one thing about me. I drive a stolen car because it's faster. I took off on these niggas, but no NASA. My son know if I die, he a rich bastard. I bought my mama a ghost like a Casper.